If you are a fan of streaming and Studio Ghibli films and always wanted to stream your favorite Miyazaki film, guess what? You can do it because HBO Max has gotten the rights. However, I think he may have just sold out. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and if you enjoy my videos, this is your first time here, please consider subscribing and ringing that bell. We don't upload every single day, but we do upload every single week, and we do want you to be notified of when our content goes up. And today we're going to be talking about Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli, for those of you who are not aware who they are masterful filmmakers. That is one of the best movie studios ever created. They create the most consistently high quality work I have ever seen. In many ways, they're like Pixar, where every time there's a new movie that comes out, it's an event. Now granted, like Pixar, they do have their duds. I am personally not a fan of Howl's Moving Castle. I also think from Up on Poppy Hill and The Cat Returns were good, but not great, personally. However, they have great talent. Obviously, they have the legendary master himself, Hayao Miyazaki, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, actually. And they had Isao Takahata before he passed away. And they have a bunch of other directors, including Mamoru Hosoda at one point worked for Studio Ghibli, and he went on to direct movies like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and The Beast and the Boy, and last year's Best Animated Feature Oscar nominee Mirai. So this is a very good studio, and they definitely emphasize the quality over quantity, but there has been a little bit of a sore spot for some people with Studio Ghibli films. They're not available to stream. You can't even buy them digitally. It's always been hard copy or theatrical experience. That's how it has always been. Well, it was reported a little while ago that HBO Max acquired the US streaming rights to the Studio Ghibli library. And it pretty much includes all their films. Like, I don't know if this article has the list, but yeah, we're talking about everything. We're talking about Castle in the Sky, The Cat Returns, From Up on Poppy Hill, Howl's Moving Castle, Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind, Ocean Waves, one of the ones that I don't like very much, Only Yesterday, Pompoko, Ponyo, Porco Rosso, Princess Mononoke, The Secret World of Arrietty, Spirited Away, The Tale of the Princess Julia, The Tales from Earthsea, which I also don't like, When Marnie Was There, Whisper of the Heart, which is an underrated classic, and The Wind Rises. Interestingly, I don't see, what was that movie called? The one with the Tanuki. Oh, no, there it is. It's Pompoko. Yeah, okay, I don't like Pompoko either. But yeah, that's all the movies, and hey, that's a pretty good deal because HBO Max was, by the way, when this thing comes out, it's going to be expensive compared to other streaming services. Most streaming services will cost like $6 to $10 a month. HBO Max is going to cost you about $15 to $18 a month. But as you can see, it looks like they're going to be offering some very premium quality movies, some premium content. However, what's strange about this is that it wasn't that long ago. Like, this article is from October 15th. This was a few days before this deal was reached. And he was quoted on why you may never see Studio Ghibli's movies on streaming services. And by the way, I had this update shortly after our story went live. Warner Media announced the acquisition of streaming rights to the Studio Ghibli catalog. And to learn more about why Disney, the longtime shepherd of our Ghibli brand in North America, won't be showing movies on Disney Plus, read the original story. So basically, Disney's out of the deal. That's why they're not in it. But here's the thing. When asked about the streaming, this was what Suzuki, the producer, said. Studio Ghibli does not make their films available digitally, whether for download or streaming anywhere in the world. Actually, this was a G-Kids representative. I'm sorry. They continue to believe that presentation is vital and particularly appreciate opportunities for audiences to experience the films together in a theatrical setting, which I can respect. And by the way, I kind of agree with that. I think streaming does cheapen movies. Now, streaming can help movies in some regard because you can have movies that no one would normally watch on a streaming site, and if it costs nothing, they might actually give it a little bit of their time, and they might discover something truly great. On the other hand, it doesn't cost anything. So what's like that? Here's one of the things. When I was growing up, so you can understand where I'm coming from here. Because I've been reviewing movies when I was a very, very young kid. And as far back as I remember, when I would like people ask me, like, so, did you like this movie or not? And I would say, not really. I don't think it's very good. And it would always, almost always, I should say, be followed up by this question. Oh, so I should wait to rent it then? And that was always a bizarre thing to me. My whole thing was, if it's not worth it seeing in the theaters, why the heck would it be worth watching at home? But there was a reason. Price consciousness. People want to watch what they want to watch. And when they're asking if the movie's good, they're not asking if should they see it. They're asking, should I pay to see it? So you could have like, and heck, even the reverse would be true. Some people ask me, what do you think of this movie? And I would say, oh, it's one of the best films of the year. And they'd say, oh, okay. Worth paying for? What do you mean? Of course it's worth paying for. So anyway, I don't get asked that anymore. People just ask me whether it's worth watching or not, which might be considered a positive with the streaming aspect. Because if it's on streaming, I mean, now when they say if something's worth watching, they say what streaming service is it on? Which, that's probably better than, is it worth renting instead of seeing in theaters? But it also kind of shows that people are still doing this budget-wise. They're wanting to watch movies for free or as little cost as possible. With Studio Ghibli taking a hard stance against digital, they stated, and they made it very clear, our movies are for the theater. We prefer them to be in the theaters. If you're going to buy them at home, the packaging, the art, that's all part of the package. They made that absolutely clear. And now, they're giving it away. And I don't really understand it. So, did Ghibli sell out? Did they cheapen their brand? Well, here's what I think happened. First of all, this is the man who used to be the CEO of Studio Ghibli. Toshio Suzuki, who, fun fact, I've met him too. And as you can see, he's the top guy. He produced a lot of Studio Ghibli films. And by the way, he also produced, completely out of nowhere, Recess, School's Out. Which, apparently he did that at one point. And so, for a long time, he was the one calling the shots. Like, we all think of, like, Miyazaki as the mastermind, but no. Miyazaki he's the chef. He's more like the chef. He's a masterful chef, of course. But Suzuki is the one who's the mastermind who decides what gets made or what should get made for the most part. I mean, there was a famous situation where Miyazaki had written 2 screenplays, one called Burrow the Caterpillar and one called Mononoke Heim. He couldn't decide which one he wanted to make, so he wanted to make both. And Suzuki, being the one who looked at the books and said, we can't afford to make both, recommended Mononoke Heim, which you might know is Princess Mononoke. And he did it for several reasons, not all of which I'll share here because that's another story for another day. But he is the mastermind. Well, he is no longer the CEO. This guy is the CEO, Koji Hoshino, which, by the way, that's what he looks like. And he has not been with the studio long, but, he's been there for a little while. And he probably comes from a different mindset. He probably sees streaming as being here, and, he's probably a little bit more open to it. But here's what is probably key. This deal, it's the U.S. streaming rights. And here's the thing about the U.S. I think Studio Ghibli has gotten a much better reputation in the last 5 years than it did when they first came here. The Ghibli Fest is very successful for the most part, and people turn out in droves to see them. And yet, no Studio Ghibli film has made more than $10 million in America that I am aware of. Even Ponyo, which was probably that and The Secret World of Arrietty, those were the 2 movies that when Disney owned the rights, they really pushed them. And I think they both made less than $10 million each. So, The Wind Rises, despite getting the Oscar nomination and everything, just a couple $1 million. So, I think maybe from Ghibli's perspective, they decided the U.S. market is kind of lost. We make our money in Japan. and now in China, apparently, because Spirited Away was finally cleared to go to China and was the #1 movie there for a little while. So, good for that movie. But I think they're looking at, like, America like it's a lost cause. We kind of have a following there, but not really. And maybe that audience does discover work through streaming. So the HBO Max probably cut them a huge check. Miyazaki is making another movie, but they hadn't been really making stuff for a while. They need to pay those animators and stuff. So maybe this was like a compromise. Like, we won't do it in Japan, but we'll do it, in America. Although, interestingly, the MarySue Act, they wrote this article that kind of shows why I think it was a good thing that the Ghibli films were more or less behind a paywall. So, here's the thing. We're going to cut down to here because the comment was reiterated, and the writer wrote, "My thoughts on that? It was stupid. I would understand if Miyazaki didn't want his films available for home viewing at all. If he or Studio Ghibli / G-Kids are committed to a pure theatrical experience only, then don't sell you movies," I think that meant your movies, "on DVD. If you think your movies are so special that you don't want people checking their phones or pausing them to pee, keep them in the vault. I can respect that, even if I think it's silly. But having them only available in hard copy and not on streaming based on the idea streaming is somehow inferior destroys that argument." Well, no, it doesn't, because people like me who have discs and streaming, I'm probably one of the few people I know that have multiple streaming services. I have Netflix and Hulu and High Dive and Crunchyroll and Funimation Now and Fandor and the Criterion Channel and Tubi. And I'm subscribing to Disney Plus. I'm going to be subscribing to Apple TV. I have multiple streaming services. And I will tell you, I will defend the discs are always better. The picture's clearer. The sound is better. You don't have to worry about bandwidth. There was a reason to keep them in hard copy. And here's the other thing. By keeping them in hard copy only, you force people to buy them if they truly wanted them. When you stream it, when it is available for streaming, you take away the incentive to purchase. Because of recent life events, like, getting married recently, I had to redo my movie budget, for example. And when I redid the movie budget, I have allocated myself $100 a month to buy discs. That's what I will spend on discs each month. That or a little less. And here's the thing. If the movie is available on a streaming service, that is not a movie I want to buy on a disc. I will bypass the disc and buy something that's not there. So, yes, there are many reasons to keep it on disc, but here's the thing. And now I guess the argument is over, and this is great. Art is meant to be enjoyed, and once it's out in the world, it's a jerk move to try and control how people enjoy it. Well, here's the thing. They're the artists, and they have a right to control it. If someone paints a painting and they only want you to view it at night under the moonlight, which I've heard some artists do, that's their prerogative. They get to have some say in the matter, not you. The old attitude was as backward as hating fan fiction or thinking that Marvel movies aren't cinema. Well, they really aren't cinema, but maybe I'll talk about that later. It was pretentious gatekeeping, and it made me want to never waste my time or money on these films. Yeah, but if it's streaming, you're not spending money on it anyway. You're not. But now that's changed, or it will change when HBO Max launches in 2020. I know what you're thinking, just go buy the movies or go to the library. Well, I'm not going to spend extra money on a movie I don't know I'll watch again. But here's the thing. If you've seen it, and by the way, every indication from this article is that this person has seen the Ghibli films, they should know if they're going to watch it again. And yeah, sometimes you buy a movie and you don't see it again. But does that mean that you're never going to go to like a movie in a theater? Like, because you'll never see it again? That's a bad argument in my opinion. And please ask someone you know how much they relish an extra trip to any store with a toddler, and you'll understand why I rely on streaming for family entertainment. Well, you could also have the movies delivered, but whatever. Also, we have a finicky Blu-ray player, but we barely use it, and we're not alone. Fewer and fewer households have DVD and Blu-ray players as the transition to total digital media continues. That doesn't mean you have to contribute to it. They still sell plenty of Blu-ray players out there. They sell high-quality Blu-ray players. You can go buy them. Again, this seems more about you don't want to buy anything. I was so confused by Miyazaki's hatred for streaming, and it was a crying shame that Miyazaki and G-Kids don't want their art seen and enjoyed as many people as possible. They do, but they want to make money doing it. That's why they put the gatekeeper there. Because here's the thing, I'm going to share, like, this went way off than what I really thought it was going to be. I remember the year that Eminem and Taylor Swift both decided for the release of the Marshall Mathers LP2 and I believe it was in 1989. That was what the album was called. They announced they were not going to be on Spotify. They were not going to be streaming. You had to buy the CDs if you wanted them, or you had to buy them digitally on iTunes. And there were so many articles saying that that was stupid. And yet, what was the result? Record CD sales. Because, gee, when you have a product people want and you force them to pay for it, good things happen. So, anyway, here's why I brought up this guy right here. Because he actually commented, and he said, "We are excited to be working with HBO Max to bring the complete collection of Studio Ghibli films to streaming audiences in the U.S. As a premium content brand, HBO Max is an ideal home for our films." And that might be what tilted it in this direction. America, again, does not buy the vast majority of Ghibli stuff, although Ghibli Fest does do well. Under this agreement, and I see that ad is ruining my shot, that they probably still get to do Ghibli Fest. I think the Ghibli fans will still buy the discs when they come out because G-Kids keeps releasing anniversary editions of the movies, and those seem to do well. And, well, HBO Max is not cheap. It's going to be upwards of $18 a month. You really have to pay for it. It's not this thing where you pay $10, less than the cost of a movie ticket, and you turn it on if you're bored. And that's why I think streaming kind of cheapens these movies personally, because when you go on a streaming site, you're usually not watching it to seriously watch a movie. You're watching it to kill time, or you're bored. And most of the time, heck, I turn on streaming sometimes just to fall asleep. Like, I'll turn on Hulu and I'll pop on Family Guy or American Dad or something like that, and I'll just sleep. It's like, there you go. So, anyway, so, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the entitlement around this announcement. I mean, this is good news. If you don't own the discs, then this might give you a reason to subscribe to HBO Max. I personally would have preferred they held their ground a little bit. I think some things you should be forced to pay for. But we'll see. I consider this selling out, but maybe it's not to you. I would like to know what you think, though. Do you agree that they're selling out, or do you not agree that they're selling out? Please, comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. If you want more content from me, check out the Apptrepreneur, the Apptrepreneur Vlogs, and Autograph Hound. And, as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.